Moon Knight episode 5.
Yes.
Wow.
I am stating this now, and I've already messaged you this yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain in saying that I was correct last week.
Yes. Before we get too much further, though, if anyone's just listening to this episode randomly, he did. I mean, obviously spoilers. He didn't predict Stephen was going to die, and I think that's the big thing that people would focus on with no context. No one predicted that.
No, and
if anyone claims they did, they're fucking lying to you.
Or they worked on it and.
Yeah.
But no, my prediction. We were making predictions last week as to like what the fuck was going on. If you haven't seen our last episode, either go listen to it or if you just want to know the rundown. My prediction was that I said he had died and he was in some weird like limbo state of dying, and it was like memories were all merging, hence why we had like the same characters and Egyptian stuff, but he was in a mental home, and then his mind was like he was split into two people. I was just like, this is him dying. Had no idea where it was going to go.
Can we actually confidently say that?
Yeah, I'm sticking with it.
How do we not know that that's still a fake reality and the hospital is the real reality?
I can't confidently say that is the case, but I am still.
Realities, they did die and go to limbo.
I am still sticking with the fact that I do think he is actually in like a limbo state.
I think you probably already know what my only complaint is.
Yes, I have the same complaint. As the episode was going on,
yeah,
I was slowly getting more and more annoyed.
That Jake hasn't been revealed yet.
Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily like, and maybe they're gonna do this in a better way than we are envisioning.
There's just a lot left for one episode.
Yeah, and maybe they have like this grand plan for it, but I think everyone is with us on this, but like when that scale was unbalanced with two hearts, the whole time I'm like, this is cool, you're going through all these rooms, this is like great, I'm loving this.
Find Jake.
Find fucking Jake. It's his heart you need. That's why you need three hearts to balance it. I
turned to Jenna while we were watching it. I went, they need Jake's heart. That's what they need.
And the longer the episode went on, I'm like, where's Jake's heart? Where's Jake? And then there was a point where I thought, was it when he had met? Which point was it? There was a point where he started fighting, and I can't remember if it was on the boat or if it was when one of the fights he had in the asylum.
In the asylum when he grabbed like the shard and was kind of holding it like a knife.
Yes, I was like, is this Jake coming out?
A lot of people,
because it was a bit more chaotic, but then it like completely changed. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I feel like I'm being blue-balled.
My main concern is, and don't get me wrong, I know the concern can be eased a lot by the quality we've had so far. My main concern is they need to dissect what's just happened to Stephen with him dying at the end of the episode. They need to reveal Jake and wrap up the overarching story of
the fuck is going on.
Yeah. And that is a lot to do in one 50-minute episode. And do well.
I have my prediction of how I think this might end.
Go on, let me hear it. I need reassurance, and I'm going to blame you if then they don't wrap it up to my satisfaction.
The way that they are presenting the story and where it's going is that they are going to go back through the gate to the overworld, and he's going to come back to life. I think what we see is Jake does get revealed on the boat and then that is the point where like they're then together right before like they go through the gate or something. So he's like, "What the fuck?" There's a third. He's like, "Who are you?" They end up in the overworld, and then he comes back and he's like, "Who the fuck was the third one?" But he's back as like Mark alive. And then with Khonshu's help, Khonshu's gonna be the way that they get Steven back, because that happened in like the Egyptian god limbo world. I think they'll go free Khonshu, and he'll get Steven back, however that happens or looks. And I think the way the story wraps up is I think it's less about the antagonist and like yes, that's gonna probably get wrapped up in some way, but I think the way that the story actually itself is gonna wrap up is us actually having like all three personalities. He is now Moon Knight. They're gonna work like they have this collective understanding, and it's kind of like we're good to go now, sort of thing. Like everything's got itself in its place and set. But
So
I do agree that is a lot to do in one episode.
yeah, and do well. I've kind of accepted that one of the three things they need to do is gonna be a bit lackluster.
Agreed.
But
And
I
I
mean,
think the thing that's lackluster is the antagonist wrap up.
I've got a feeling it's Jake being opened up and explored. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Overall, I think the way I would describe the episode is hauntingly beautiful.
Yeah. I think it was an incredible episode. I think the way that they went through memories and we finally kind of got a bit more of a understanding as to what the fuck's going on with Mark and where Steve, like why, how he's got to this place that he's at. Um, I I'm pretty sure it was like after episode 2, you predicted that his mum's actually dead,
Mm-hmm.
and he thinks he's talking to the mum. Well,
So the things that I really, really adored about this episode, the way the memories were done and the way they were explored,
mm-hmm,
the way that Mark dealt with all the people he's killed, and the
mm-hmm,
fact that he remembered all of them and where it happened and stuff,
yep,
really brought a more human side to Mark.
mm-hmm,
Them finally making it not painfully obvious, that makes it sound like I didn't like it. The way they made it very clear that he has Jewish heritage and is Jewish.
yep,
I'm glad they finally showed that and made that very, very clear.
mm-hmm,
Um, it's slightly different to the other three parts, but the cinematography and the actual acting and shooting of it from Oscar Isaac and the camera work and everything was phenomenal. The best in the show so far, I think.
mm-hmm.
Um, one thing that I like, but I'm not sure how much I like. Maybe it's just me because I knew a little bit more about the character. I'm not sure if you remember when I did the Moon Knight character profile back in episode 5,
Yeah,
4,
a while
4 or
ago.
5. I said that he was abused by his father as a child. They've changed that to his mother.
Mm.
I kind of like that change because it differentiates and it also makes Steven's connection with their mum all that more biting like 5 episodes later.
Yeah,
But I don't know if that's really a change anyone will notice outside of
it's. I think
people
that's
who
one of
know a bit about the
those
character.
changes where they've, for their narrative and how they want to present things, is like a little
I
a
agree.
change that they've made. I think it's a
Do
good change. I think it works fine.
you want to know a really funny story? And obviously, I have no evidence to back this up. People
Okay.
are just going to have to trust that I'm not
This is
trying
bold.
to. Yeah, people are just going to have to trust that I'm not trying to brag because this would be the most weirdest brag. I almost did a character profile on Randall Spector because he is quite an important character from the comics.
Oh,
So that's probably who I'll do a character profile on next week.
well then.
I decided against it because there was no information given to us to make us think that he was going to be the antagonist of the show, which, I mean, he isn't. So I was just like, I'll leave it. It probably won't even matter. Now I'm obviously kicking myself because it'd been really cool for me right now to sit here and go. And if you remember the Randall Spector character profile, we know, I'm pretty sure he's a villain later on. I can't remember though. So yeah, I thought that was quite cool as well that they've put that egg out there. So if they do decide to use any of the storylines revolving around his brother, we know there's history there now. He thinks his brother's dead. His mother abused him and belittled him and hated him for what happened to his brother. And then season 2 of Moon Knight or a Moon Knight film, whatever, his brother rocks back up as the bad guy, could be quite an interesting story.
Yeah. I think overall, I think they've, because also I think the visual effects, I said last week, I thought the visual effects were great. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the whole turning back the sky, which was impressive. When you think about how many different like visual effect shots in this episode there were, with them in the dunes, then the fact that like, because they've split them apart, doing two people that is the same actor, every single shot they're both in is visual effects. Exactly. And like there was points where they were like fighting each other and Mark was grabbing Steven and stuff. No point. Really well done. Yeah, no point did I was like, oh, that's like a head replacement, or like that's like, no point did I spot any visual effects, and like it pulled me out of the fact that this is the same actor doing both. You kind of just,
it was all very well done.
Get sucked into the fact that you're like, oh, this is just kind of like twins or something you're watching do this. It was very well acted by Oscar.
So good, so good. Also, huge shout out to Torit.
Being like the super nice.
Yeah. Who, we did correctly predict who she was. Granted, we had loads of evidence and it did make sense. But still, we were right, which is always nice. We'll take the victories. But yeah, I loved her character. She was brilliant. She was so likeable. I wanted to give her a hug.
Yeah.
She seems how you'd expect the god of women and children to be.
Yeah.
Cuddly, very nice and sensitive, and wants to help.
Yeah.
And I don't know who did the voice acting for her, but whoever it was, they did a really good job. And I think she was a brilliant addition to the narrative.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of an audible gasp did you make when Steven fell to his death?
It was less of an audible gasp as like, holy shit. I was more like, what?
I think my audible gasp was probably like a 7 or an 8, and I turned to Jenna and I went, what the shit? I'm in disbelief. I still am. I can't believe they actually killed him.
I've done that. Well, yeah. he might not be dead.
I'm really, really curious, and I'm sorry. I know this is very, very unprofessional, but you know what? We don't make money, so it can be unprofessional. I've just looked over to my Twitter on my other monitor, and Stephen Grant is trending.
Oh no! Is it because people are talking about him frozen?
Keeping Grandma locked in until they bring back Stephen Grant with the old picture of the woman inside the big bird cage. A lot of people being very complimentary of the little boy who plays young Mark and Stephen, who also did a really good job.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm back. I just literally saw my like trending for you update, and it was on there.
Well, the way I see it is, Tiamat, she said like, those that don't balance the scales are just trapped here in the sands forever. They're not dead. They're just trapped.
I mean, they are dead because they're in the afterlife already.
Yeah, but they're not like... they're not dead, like, re-roll your character dead. They're...
Fucking nerd.
Yeah, they're down and can be resurrected.
Yeah.
That's why I think, like, Khonshu is going to do something to
Or the other gods of the
Yeah,
enemy.
or it's like they stop the antagonist guy and the other gods realize, oh, Conchu was right, and there's a way of repayment or like apology. They bring Steven, like they correct things like Steven being trapped.
You've also got to remember Stephen was a personality created by someone who'd experienced something traumatic and had BPD.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm not necessarily sure it would do any good for the narrative and raising awareness for BPD, they could be lazy and just say, I mean, he rethought him up and he rebuilt him in his mind. Not saying I'd
Yeah,
like that idea, but that would be an easy cop out.
I I think
I
they
don't
could
think
get
they
away
would.
with that if it wasn't for the fact of like they did the whole two hearts thing.
Yeah.
I think had it been one heart or like, and he was still like kind of this, he's just imagining him there now. They could have got around it a bit,
Oh,
but
like a PTSD style thing.
yeah, so more like Tima, she only saw Mark or something, but he's seeing Steven next to him because of the work where they are, like it fragmented in that way.
I
But
thought you meant they might use him in like a PTSD way going
uh
forward. Like Mark can always
maybe.
see him, but that's because Mark is like
Maybe
traumatized by losing him.
they could do that and like he never actually takes over again.
Yeah, he's
He
just there.
just yeah, they could do it that way. Also talking about that has made me remember when she pulled the two hearts out and she was like, these feel incomplete. I wanted her to say, it feels like I have only 2/3.
Yeah,
I was like, you want to say that each one weighs like a third, right? That's what you're gonna
yeah.
say. I was like, you gonna make it out that it's free.
Well, literally, I probably I want to say I said it, but I probably shouted it. I'm going to be honest with you. When she said, "Go look and see what's missing to make you guys complete," I literally said at the top of my voice, "Go back to that room with the other fucking sarcophagus." But
I,
they walked past like the first 4 doors, and I'm like, "No, it was in one of the ones behind you. Go back, let Jake out."
well, when she said that, I was like, oh, they're gonna go get Jake,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh no, they're in a room of dead bodies now. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
I was really impressed, bearing in mind they weren't giving me what I wanted, and how much I still enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, like
Because, like, you know me, if they're not doing what I expected slash wanted, there is a real chance I'm just like, no shit. But it was still a very, very good episode that I
the thing is
enjoyed.
though, in the case of Moon Knight, them not doing what you expected is actually them doing a good job.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but overall, I think it was another brilliant episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie.